Dandy's World, a Roblox game that's already breaking records since its release in June 2024. Created by Blush Crunch Studio, this game has taken the community by storm, unlike their earlier work, which never quite hit the same level of success. The game has a very simple concept. You venture deeper and deeper into an abandoned park. You, together with other Toons, must fill machines with Ichor, a mysterious black substance that is also used as the game's main currency. It's not Dandy's World as Dandy's World. What I mean by that is that inside Dandy's World, the game you are playing on Roblox is a TV show hosted inside the world where the game takes place. The show aired from around 1997 to 2002. The show was fairly popular at the time, having 3 seasons of at least 15 episodes each. The show featured a wide range of characters and was built upon teaching positive habits and lifestyle. One note in the game, written by Arthur Walton, one of the show's creators, reads, "I understand the importance of companionship and friendship. That is what the show teaches most, after all." Dandy was the show's main character, and the show was named after him. But there are also other characters, with the most starred ones being Astro, a waning moon, or Shelly, an ammonite shell. While we know very little about specific episodes, a few storyboards scattered throughout the game showcase their basic structure. A problem arises, the characters work together to solve it, and they learn an important life lesson. From the storyboards, it seems that Dandy is not the one having trouble, the other characters are. Dandy will join along and help them solve it. But the show is not that important for the lore of the game. The important part is what happens to it. Right before the TV show was launched, Gardenview Center opened. Gardenview Center was a museum and educational center opened by Arthur Walton and his partner, Delilah Keene. Remember Arthur? He was at the front of both the TV show and the center. They took a loan together to finance their plans. As can be seen on the posters in-game, Toons was likely helping run the education center. However, their plans were shuttered not so long after, when the Gardenview Center had to close unexpectedly. While the exact reason for the closure remains a mystery, a newspaper found on one of the floors mentions it was due to a lack of safety regulations. It hints that the closure might be linked to one or more Toons malfunctioning. In Dandy's World, there are currently 21 playable characters known as Toons, with one unplayable character, Dandy, reserved exclusively for the developers. If we take a trip back to the early days of gaming, the term Toon originally referred to any playable game character. But that doesn't really give us much insight into what they are in this game. Unfortunately, there are few references in the game itself that explain what Toons truly are. However, right from the start, we can rule out that they are human. First, when you look at them, they do not look much like human. More importantly, we have a note from Arthur to his colleague Delilah, where he describes what Toons, specifically Dandy, should look like. From that, we can conclude that Arthur was the one designing the Toons, and Delilah brought them to life afterward. On the other hand, it's improbable they are machines either. In various photos and notes scattered throughout the game, we see Toons bonding and forming friendships. Also, they appear much younger in these photos than in the TV show posters. Twisteds are corrupted versions of the Toons, twisted by a mysterious black substance, presumably Ichor. They are the main enemies in the game. Each round starts with 2 base Twisteds, and the number increases depending on the number of floors reached and the amount of players alive. You can find them wandering through the dark halls of the Gardenview Center. They can't be killed and are extremely aggressive, chasing any Toon they see until they lose sight of them. Twisteds come in 5 different rarities. The rarity influences how often they spawn and also what skill they possess, with some even having multiple abilities. As their rarity increases, they become harder to find but also much tougher to deal with. Main characters, such as Astro, Pebble, V, Shelly, or Sprout, have the lowest spawn chances but have unique skills that will make the game much harder. Take Twisted Astro, for example. When you miss a skill check on a machine, Astro will drain about half the current progress. Then you have the rares, which consist of 5 Twisteds, including Goob, Scraps, and Flutter. They're tough but not as challenging as the main characters. Apart from maybe Scraps and Goob, these 2 are a pain to play against, as both have a ranged ability. Next are the uncommons. A few of these 6 Twisteds have abilities, but they're less of a direct threat to you and your team. Instead, they alter the game's behavior. Take Roger, for example. He disguises himself as a fake research capsule. If you accidentally activate him, you'll receive a debuff, and Roger will spawn right behind you. The most common Twisteds include Box 10, Poppy, Shrimpo, Tisha, and Cosmo. They do not have any special abilities but differ in their paths and behavior inside the game. The last group in the list of rarities is Lethal Twisteds. Dandy is the only Twisted in this class and has a unique way of spawning. He doesn't spawn randomly like the rest. You have to complete a few separate steps in order to spawn him. What makes him lethal is that he will instantly kill any toon he touches. What's also important to note is that these Twisteds can only appear once per floor. You will never find 2 or more of the same Twisted in the same level. The central theme of the game revolves around the Ichor operation. The toons are the key players in this operation. You, together with others, venture deeper and deeper into the park, filling more and more Ichor machines. You also gain a small amount of Ichor for yourself in the process. Another way to gather Ichor is by picking up research bottles, which, besides providing Ichor, also grants research progress toward the specific Twisted that is present on your floor. When you complete 50% of the research for a Twisted, you unlock its description, and fully completing the research earns you a trinket. Trinkets are special items that can be equipped and provide unique effects that can make your life a lot easier. You can equip up to 2 trinkets at the same time. The main point in collecting Ichor is to unlock more toons. From here on, the evidence is scarce, but there are some compelling theories that I believe might be true. First, if you look up the word Ichor in Greek mythology, it refers to the fluid that flows in the veins of gods. We know that Twisteds are corrupted by Ichor, and this ancient reference helps explain why they are so powerful compared to the regular toons. That said, I don't believe you're actually playing as the toons themselves. Although the game calls them toons, I think they might be clones. You use Ichor to purchase more toons. This can just be a design choice, just the game's currency without any additional meaning. But it might also imply that Ichor is used to create clones. Adding to this theory, the game explicitly states that you are paying with Ichor to buy licenses for toons. This suggests that you don't own the character but rather purchase the license to recreate them for each run. It's like buying a blueprint to create your favorite toon. There are a few additional clues that support this theory, but not many people notice. For starters, Blush Crunch's other game, Flavor Frenzy, which I mentioned earlier, also plays around clones being produced. While this is a weak connection, there are better arguments. Another key point is when you die in the game, on a split second before the gate closes, your toon explodes into a black substance, which is most likely Ichor. Whether toons are entirely made of Ichor is uncertain, but it's plausible that they contain lower concentrations of it, making them not fully corrupted like Twisteds are. Twisteds are not only covered in it, but some seem to leak Ichor from their wounds, indicating that the substance is a part of their internal system. The final clue can only be noticed by players who spend a lot of time in the game. As I mentioned before, when you collect enough research points, you unlock the description for the Twisted. Dandy's description says, "The star of the show, the one who runs the Ichor operation, it's all his fault." What can be taken from this? First of all, Dandy is the one selling the toon licenses. If he's fully running the Ichor operation, he's not only collecting Ichor from the machines, but he's also gathering it from you in exchange for creating more toons to work for him. A pretty big brain move. The description of the corrupted Dandy also hints that everything is his fault. Ichor is being extracted through machines that seem to pull it from an underground reservoir of some kind. It's reasonable to assume that Ichor was always present when Arthur and Delilah first opened the park. During the first months, when the original toons were still working there with their handlers, Dandy may have discovered Ichor and its power. We know that Dandy was the first toon designed and likely created. Delilah rushed Arthur to finish the designs for the others. So the two may have decided to change a thing or two in their process to speed things up, after Dandy was created. Because of this, Dandy may be somewhat special, which could explain why Ichor doesn't affect him to the same extent. Perhaps he might have made other toons work for him on the machines. Dandy sought power, and other toons were helping their friend, probably not realizing what this was about. That something isn't right with Dandy can also be seen in some dialogues between characters. For instance, in a conversation between Astro and Pebble, Astro expresses concern about Dandy, saying he's worried about him. The twist came right before the closure of Gardenview Center. At the beginning of the story, I mentioned that Gardenview Center closed due to some kind of malfunction. That was most likely the point when the original Toons became corrupted and transformed to Twisteds. They were no longer safe to be around children, and the park had to close. There are hints that the malfunction involved exploded extractors. For example, after completing an extraction, your character sometimes says, "Phew, I'm glad that didn't explode." Additionally, as you explore the floors, you can find traces of Ichor where machines may have once stood before exploding. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the lore of one of the greatest Roblox games, be sure to check out my other lore video about Roblox Piggy and its whole story explained. Trust me, you'll love it and learn something new. But before you go, make sure to like and subscribe.